we're on our own personal journeys, and it's very sacred and personal between us and God source and our own development. And who are we to tell somebody that's right, that's wrong, that's right, that's wrong? We're done with that kind of paradigm. And I just think love is going to actually neutralize the toxicities that might even be the things that we're concerned about, because we're no longer just, that's why I love Ripley's Believe It or Not when I was a kid. It's like, what? They just swallow the light bulb? Like, how did they do that? And they're still alive. It's like, because there's mind over matter, right? So can't we give each other a little bit more respect and like give each other space to be on our journeys without just being picky about like, oh, you're vegan? What do you do? What? You know what I mean? It's like love, like just like let's take it up a notch, you guys.
And letting go of our,
and that's what these things that you do embody is that you embrace, that, and that's why I feel so comfortable in this arena, because I absolutely agree that does it really matter in the end? Like, we have to be divided right or left, or you did this or you didn't, or you eat this and you don't. It's like, come on, let's just go higher than that. That's my point. Yeah. And you just nailed it.
And I think it starts with each one of us just seeing how we can apply it in our own lives. And when we apply it in our own lives, it's able to be amplified. And it doesn't mean, I like that you mentioned, Laura, that sometimes, you're talking about maybe people had these things happen, or maybe it was us, being able to look at our own individual challenges that we're all working through right now. Because I don't know anybody that's just smooth sailing with just no hiccups along the way. There's some darn hiccups that we're all having to kind of jump through or jump around or just sit with or be with. And it's good to know that we can join in forums like this with each other and hold space for each other and love each other through these times, because talking about all the stuff that we hate or we don't want is just keeping it sitting there. And I feel that this group that Sheila has brought together with the Conscious Awakening series is all about each one of us celebrating our diversity and holding each other and, doing the woohoo every time someone has a win, or seeing, when Shayla was talking about her Alchemy of Ascension series that's going to be on March 14th through the 18th. And then I was thinking, wow, and then everyone can roll right into Laura's divine intervention and the power of the creative imagination on Portal to Ascension is the next day on March 19th, as we flow into the spring equinox.
Absolutely.
It's like, how perfect is that it's not a push or pull energy. It's how cool we get to ride these waves together. And energy is going to draw us where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be there. Place us at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, for the right reasons, so we can all live and serve our divine missions for the greater good for all. And we're here doing that. So I'm glad you brought us into that, Laura, and you gave us a little bit of background that not everybody, I think that people are at different places in their journey of uncovering and revealing some of the reasons why we got to this particular place. And I think we need to know that in order to spring forward. So I appreciate you sharing that. How about you, Sheila?
Absolutely. When you were talking, I was having this visceral sensation. I could feel every word, because I think the vibration of what you're talking about is helping us just to go deeper, to bring things up for that healing, and then to learn universally what's going on and what our piece of this puzzle is all about. I think can really help us as we go through these times. And one of the things about the Wish Alliance is how we do create this container so that we can all come together to support each other. And I have seen week after week, and people text me. It's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly the words I needed to hear. And so I can't wait to hear the comments after tonight. And so this is my first opportunity to get to listen to you live. So I really appreciate so much you being here and adding your energy to this sacred container. Thank you.
Are you on mute, Laura? That's a thing with you, Laura. You're popping like a fairy with, into each person's different. There's so many people asking you to be on their shows, and you share differently with each one. I really appreciate that.
Oh gosh, thank you so much, Sheila. I mean, I was listening like you were saying this to everybody. I didn't know that you were actually saying it to me. Then I'm stunned. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. It's like really like, I'm like, really means a lot. I mean, this is the beauty of it all, is that we're all holding this, and we're like holding this together as a soul family and community. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
How are you feeling physically, Laura, when we go through some of the little physical ailments that each one of us are noticing?
I mean, we always go through physical stuff. Look at all our past lives. Look at all the things that we've endured.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all kind of training ground to gain self-mastery over our bodies. Somebody's saying like, this is why when I was a child and I would go to the doctor, I was always like, you're going to tell me what's wrong with me? Like, I don't know, like myself, like, isn't that a journey that is going to help me to like discover who I am? Like, why is somebody outside of me telling me, oh, you got this, you got that, you got this, and this test shows this and that and this and that? Like, I was like, no authority, no doctors, nobody. Doesn't mean that I haven't interacted with it. Doesn't mean I haven't like lived through a lot of it. But there was always this part of me that was saying like, you don't have command over my body. You don't know like what can like truly heal me. But at the same time, thank you so much for being able to help me in this emergency situation, EMTs that show up, at an accident scene, it's like, so it's not a black or white, I mean, there's a huge spectrum there when it comes to healthcare, but I feel that true healing and true individuals that are doctors and nurses or like healing practitioners are helping us to get back to ourselves, like helping us to understand like why are my lungs hurting, or I'm coughing, or I'm scratching, or I'm having and then that gets back down to the elementals, right? You have your physical, you have your mental, you have your emotional, you have your spiritual, and you have it, so there's going to be all these categories like, oh, the mental health system, or the spiritual systems, or the physical, so if we can't like come to our own divine center and say, wait a second, okay, I appreciate what you're saying, sort of like the teacher student teacher dynamic. If the teacher doesn't know how to be the student and the student doesn't know how to be the teacher, it's like if a parent can't guide the child to like, all right, I remember raising my twins. I was like, they're raising me. They're my teachers. I'm not their authority, but at the same time, I have, it's like, this is a co-creation here. When there's a point where there's a cutoff and you feel like somebody's trying to control you and saying, oh, well, your thoughts aren't valid. That's a huge red flag. And I'm going all over the place, I know, but I guess to just bring it back to center, we need to have a greater relationship. We're dealing with those that are assisting us, that they can really appreciate our own self-knowledge, our own capacity to understand, It's like, oh, this pain is here because, oh yeah, that's when I got like either bullied, or maybe a person went through a rape experience or like some traumatic experience. And then of course, in the fields that we're in, we know it's like secret space programs and trauma-based mind control, and like, it's such a big picture that we're dealing with. But like, authority needs to humble itself. And this is what Saturn with the rings, Saturn's just like authority, tyrannical authority. No, this is how we transform Saturn. And we work with the law of structure and say, I'm going to find the higher vibration in my connection to the Saturnian energy, return to the sun it used to be, and say, what laws and principles and tyrannical authority can I claim for myself so that I can be healthy and whole? And that's when we start to look at ourselves and say, oh, well, I'll get more exercise, I'll take this particular herb, I will, because Saturn actually is a gift, even though it's sort of the excuse me, I don't want to be derogatory, but it's like, okay, we go from tyrannical authority, control, enslavement, to the graduation of what Saturn's really bringing us into, which is self-mastery and becoming a teacher and saying, these are the rules and disciplines that I'm setting for myself so that I can create a structure in my life so I can thrive. It might mean like, this is when I do yoga. This is when I eat this wonderful thing. This is when I, it's like, we don't want to get rid of Saturn. It's like the teacher-student dynamic. So the whole integration of polarity is very hard for this culture and society in this global climate to be able to embrace. It's still compartmentalized. Integration is so important so that the teacher is humbled, the aggressors are kept in check. We are able to create boundaries, and we're able to be sovereign and just say, like, look, I am my own law. I am my own temple. I am my own like judge, priestess, and whatever, teacher. But at the same time, I will be open to something outside of myself, but no longer are we going to allow ourselves to be penetrated by things that define who we are. And it's time to take a stand and say, this is who I am. And let's harmonize it so we can play a beautiful orchestra of music and dance and sing and have a good time for once.
Are you using those tools, Laura? Are you finding yourself, getting your drum out and going out and sitting under a tree and drumming? Is that how are you cultivating calm in the chaos?
My toes were swollen, right? Earlier, and I'm just like, that's weird, my feet are. So I wrote a poem about my
nice.
And then this happened when I've been in emergency situations. And as much as I was talking about the medical industry, of course, I've been exposed to it, all of it. But in childhood, I always avoided it, and in my later years. But long story short, I hope to God I can make a long story short. The way I cope is just like, it's like I can spin this into something else. It's like, all right, that's pretty disturbing. It's like I've got like swollen toes. I don't know what that means. And then I Google it, right? And there's something called COVID toes, right? So I create a poem like, and then I was laughing so hard today. I didn't think I was going to be able to show up because I was like laughing so freaking hard because I'm like, I got these COVID toes. I wrote this poem about these COVID toes that I had, and all of a sudden, like the swelling went away because I was laughing instead of fearing it.
Right.
That's the alchemy. Like our perspective is everything. So when I see something show up where I'm like, oh man, it's like a little thing that is, you Google is like a flesh-eating virus. Oh my God, it's going to take us over, but we keep reliving everything. That's why we have reincarnation, to just finally get the point of the joke. Bad joke, not a really funny, like we have to laugh, but some things aren't really very funny, but but when we do get the joke, it's like, I have command over my body. If this is stressing me out, I can handle it. Do I have to go to that doctor to say, let's look at your foot. That could spread to the rest of your body and you have 9 months to live. No, I don't like to adopt anybody else's narrative. So the way I'm coping is, if I'm feeling something, if I'm exposed to something, I have a relationship to it and I have a voice. I'm not going to just be the little person that somebody tells me this is what it is and this is how you should feel about it. That is the subtle mind control that is permeated society and culture all over the world that we see in concentrated systems of like all these projects and all this, you know, secret space program stuff and all this negative alien agenda stuff. It's like the worst thing for them is when we're like, oh my gosh, I can actually feel pain and have like a weird symptom and work with it, listen to it, understand it, and be body centered, spirit body integration, and really start to resurrect the divine union template and begin to remove the frequency fences that are keeping us from regaining our 12-strand DNA and beyond.
How do you remove a frequency fence?
I don't want to do the FU stuff, but sometimes it's just like, I call it FU therapy. It's just like, F you, get the F out of my space. You don't belong here. You're not my controller. I'm in charge of myself. I'm going to get to know why this pain is here, why this block is here, why this ancestral pattern might be looping, why this, like, thanks, but like, no thanks if you're like way too much of my space. It's like taking command, just taking command. That's what sovereignty is all about. It's not disrespect, but look at, like, when we look at the way culture and society is structured, is very demeaning to those who are free spirits in our star seeds. They literally like have made a whole industry out of like, oh, ADD, Ritalin, oh, all these drugs, oh, depression, oh, pharmaceutical companies are literally banking on us not feeling worthy to go through our initiation processes where we're like, oh, I'm depressed, I gotta go on an antidepressant, oh, something's wrong with me. No, something's wrong with something outside of ourselves. We need to embrace depression and anger and pain. We need to hold it and hold space for it and give it unconditional love and get to know it and not hand it over to somebody else to say, oh, this drug will make it go away. If we do that, then we become zombified to the point where they're running the show. And it's up to us to say, thank you, I can handle it. Even if it means I can't get out of bed, I'm going to cry and scream for a couple weeks. Just warn the villagers. It's a bad joke I have with myself. Warn the villagers, the volcano's going to blow. All right. But there's nothing wrong with me because I feel so much.
You're a very passionate. People are writing in our
I'm like totally going off. I got to shut up. Sorry, guys.
No, I think everybody loves your passion, Laura. And when you do have so many outside influences poking at you and, coming at you and then physical things coming up, I think it's good that you're addressing it. Sheila, you have a whole practice around helping people with stuff like that, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. And even though they come in with a physical ailment, one of the first things I do is try to determine where the injury exactly is, but not in their physical body, but in their mental, emotional bodies, because I'll start asking them, what was going on at the time of this accident? Oh, I didn't really have an accident, but I remember when I was 8 years old and I was getting bullied and I was on my bike and, my knee's never been right since, so a lot of times people will hold those chemicals because we're flooded with, once the emotions penetrate the physical body, they become chemical responses in the brain. And if we can't flush all those chemical responses quickly, they get stored in our muscle, bone, tissue, fiber, and they stay there. And what I'm finding right now is because of this wide variety of energy, this transformational energy that we have, a lot of those deep-seated ailments are starting to come up. A lot
Yeah.
of tears are starting to flow because healing's starting to occur on a much deeper level than some people are ready for it to happen, because we have to embrace the good, the bad, everything that has, taken place within our lives in order for the physical body to heal. Otherwise, we just have these blockages that are hanging out there. So, when we can really take a good look, like at the toes, feet are about, our stability in life moving forward. And, it's like, gosh, is there something, that's happening right now that's making me not feel like I can move forward? Well, all of us should look around and say, absolutely. Look at what happens right now. Look at what happened in the world. Look what's going on. Soon as this transit, as soon as Pluto came around, bam.
I know. I said to Laura today, man, this Pluto return is a doozy.
Isn't it?
And
I texted back like, yeah, major doozy.
Major doozy. And we knew that was coming. Laura had shared a lot of astrological implications, at the end of last year, I think. And you never know how it's going to manifest in your own personal life. You just know, okay, I'm kind of like steeling myself for it. But at the same time, finding the miracles and the magic in between these little, bumps of chaos. And I think, we've talked about it intermittently through each one of these conversations about finding our center again and continuing to remember to laugh. That laughter is great medicine. And even if one of the things I've noticed is if I'm getting really caught up in all the stuff I'm hearing, whether it's through social media or just in casual conversations at the grocery store, and I, just really paying attention, but then all of a sudden I'll think, when was the last time I laughed? And if somebody hasn't made me laugh or I haven't made myself laugh, I'll go look on YouTube or on something for some funny video, just so I can have the release of the laughter. I think that's, really good medicine. And Laura, I love that you brought it back to, being able to laugh at your toes and
make it
laughing so hard all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is something I'm supposed to fear. And for some reason, like, I can't stop laughing. And, it's the same thing with anything. It's not like that's always been the case in my life. Like I used to be a hypochondriac. I'm like, what is this? Google, and like show up and like, be like, I mean, when you go to the dentist and you're like, or like the emergency room and you're like, well, I've Googled, like you literally know more than they might know. I don't like to say Google, because whatever, compromise, but I'm just saying like when you can challenge the doctor to the point where like you might actually convince the doctor that you might know more about yourself than they do. What a revelation. It's so weird to think that a doctor, a priest, a judge has, you know what I mean? It's like, but I'm not saying that it doesn't have its place, but there's some that abuse that kind of power where it's like, oh, well, any feedback, they don't ask you about feedback. They don't ask you about, what did you just go through? Did you go through a breakup, a trauma, a divorce? Did you just move a bunch of times? They're not looking for that. They're just like, oh, all right.
Usually it's about giving you a solution to your problem through a pharmaceutical. That's how they're trained. Yeah. Or, I do like that you're bringing up the point about how we, in the past, love to use that language, that in the past, many of us have given over our power to people that we think we're supposed to give our power to. And then there are others who kind of came in saying, I'm not doing that. I think you're one of those, Laura. And there's a few people in the chat room that I think would agree that, even from being a young child, we're not giving their power over and questioning authority at every every juncture, you know, and for each one of us, it's our own journey. I wasn't that kid that came in, you know, just being rebellious. I was a pretty peaceful kid, a very shy kid. But at some point, you know, the brain kicks in and starts actually feeling the heart. And then we can look at things from a whole different perspective. But I think everybody on this Zoom meeting tonight has probably had experiences where we've given over our authority, and then now we're in this phase of taking it back. And that's why I really feel that this phrase, the inner alchemist, it's not a phrase, and it's actually something that each one of us could consider really pursuing to bring and activate our inner alchemist. And how we do that with each situation we're faced with, and like you with the toes and us with the woman. I'm not going to use the name that people make fun of women that do that, you know, the tattletale kind of people, you know, that, but we're on this earth together. And I feel that this series of Conscious Awakening during the month of February was really a series to highlight the nurturing aspects of the feminine, and how we can use that inner peace to create more peace in the world by modeling it and displaying it, and using humor and poetry and, you know, whatever tricks we have up our sleeve, because that's what we do. You know, look at what you did, Laura, with your twins when they were, you know, little or whatever. What we do as moms, you know, we use whatever we can figure out in the moment, you know. So here we all are.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And you know, I just loved how you've kind of put this big bow on everything that we were striving to bring forward this month.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the love component, the nurturing component, and also that personal empowerment component where we stand up and just say no more.
Yeah.
This isn't acceptable.
Yeah.
And it's not just here, but you know, the exciting thing is it has now been worldwide. A lot of people are standing up to current events, to things that are happening in their workplace, to things that are happening in their family, and it's no more. People are becoming empowered. They're switching that victimization, and they're moving into that place of calm stillness because they've been doing their work. They have really been doing their work, and this whole month was about love. And what higher love can we have than self-love? Because once we learn to truly love ourselves, then we can extend that out to others. And so, you know, Michelle, for this month of love, there's been no one that I could, you know, have brought forward to exude that energy more than you and Laura for tying this up and bringing everything together for us. And I'd kind of like to hear from some of our participants tonight to see, you know, kind of what your feelings are, where you are, what you've observed. And Susie's already got her hand in celebration up. So, okay, Susie, let me bring you on.
Laura, I've been, oh my God, I'm going to cry. I have been watching you. I've been watching you for years, maybe decades. First, I just want your, you know, I don't want to be low level, but your first string, I want your autograph. I mean, you are so amazing, and you cover so many dimensions. I mean, I'm just so grateful. I want to shout out to Wish Alliance, because no matter how much I watched you, Laura, and kept up with your stuff on Mars and stuff, I mean, but to be able to just talk to you and say thank you, and to say, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you're going through, for the information that we're getting. And Sheila, Michelle, thank you so much for making this available to us. I mean, and Laura, I still want your autograph.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Susie.
Anytime, every
Thank
time.
you.
Susie, thank you so much for sharing that. And Laura, that's one of the gifts of being one of your sister friends that I feel when we open this up to people, being able to share with you how you have had such a profound impact on their lives. And I really, really want you to take that in, because I know you don't always feel, how much love is coming to you. And I'm really happy to see people showering that upon you right now, Laura. You've been through the ringer for us all, and with us all. And
Gosh, you guys are like,
take it in.
oh, gosh, I mean, I just feel this beautiful synergy and unity.
Yeah.
It's really just like epic to be with all of you right now.
I think we all needed it tonight, Laura. I think this weekend we did feel that Pluto return. And, I don't want to go into all the dynamics happening around. There's so many different opinions, but we know that we are the ultimate alchemists, especially when we come together in this kind of a space where there's no right or wrong. There's no hierarchy. There's just love. And, as we end this particular February series, I really felt how important it was for us to just be able to share authentically in this space. So I thank you so, so much. Do we have any other hands up? I can't tell if there's hands up.
I have a hand up, but I don't know how to put a hand up here.
Oh, look, it's Joan.
Okay, well, here you are, Joan.
I couldn't let you be on without giving you energetic hugs. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's because we're all spiritual warriors here, but you're just like the one who we look to. And I just have to tell you, you have come a long way.
You have, Laura.
You had a lot asked of you.
Mm-hmm.
You were born old. You were born the warrior, and you've stepped in, Laura, in a way that helps each and every one of us to learn to align ourselves. I suppose that's what I want to tell you. And that you probably have no idea the impact that you have bringing all of what you do. You're relentless. And I just love you to death. I just love you to life.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good one, Joan.
Love you to life. You come out here to the hot springs, my desert hot springs, and for TLC, you just need to know that you just need love. You need more love. You need it from your women. That's what you need from us. And that's what we can do with you tonight. I think that's why Sheila had, you're our secret. We're loving on you because we need to do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
Good. You give her the recording and we'll put it on auto replay.
There you go, over and over and over.
So it's just good to see you.
Oh, I miss you guys so much. I mean, the whole word miss is so funny because we're here and we're in now.
Yeah,
I know.
But our physical hugs, when there were in the past, we've had many opportunities where we've seen each other maybe 2 or 3 times a year in the physical. And I think all of us are really experiencing that longing to embrace each other. And Joan and I got to do it recently. In June, it will be another opportunity to be outside in nature and to be embracing each other. And Sheila, if you plan on having anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. The physical gatherings are important, and we can hold each other and do a lot of magic with medicine wheels and crystal grids, and the stuff that we do with our hearts aligned together in the physical is pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
But here it's really powerful too, with each one of you sharing with us and, tuning in and taking all this in. Just knowing that people are making time on a Monday night means a lot. Joan, you're reverse aging. I'm just gonna say it. You every time I see you, you look younger and younger. I just love seeing you
I'll
here.
be teaching youngering soon.
Yes, perfect.
The art of youngering, because that
art
is
of
true.
youngering.
I'm happier and have more on purpose, more in my purpose place, and passion just does it for you.
Yeah.
It does.
Plus, we're talking to Laura, and I had a dear friend, my friend Shima was here for almost a month. Well, I live alone, and I have not had anyone here for so long. To be able to hug someone every night and love on them before, and talk was just such a sacred honor. And so it makes me appreciate how vulnerable you guys are being tonight with how rare this is. We're lucky. This cosmic awakening, female style, it's juicy.
Yes, absolutely.
Laura, you're going to be in Mount Shasta this summer too, aren't you, in the physical? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Traveling is so different these days. But yeah.
I gave Laura a lot of my tips on how to travel on an airplane, eating pistachio nuts and
I know.
bringing us all. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah. It's so funny that some of the I went from like Australia to Hong Kong, and then all of a sudden Dimensions of Disclosure in Ventura, California, and then all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, like trying to maintain the physical, and then with all this like stuff going on, I got kicked off of 2 airlines, and it wasn't like a terrible scene. It was just like, you guys, like, oh man, the stories at the airports when that masking and all the weirdness started happening. Because I'm like, I'm a very comfortable traveler. I could jump on plane, boat, like kayak, whatever. But with this mask stuff,
Let's
that didn't go so well.
How about
really didn't go so well. You're like, we can't have you fly on Alaska Airlines anymore. I'm like, yeah, I kicked out of a few airlines, but I'm gonna make it to these conferences, and I'll walk. I don't care how I get there, and flying is
Overrated.
I know all of us,
Why don't we
have our
manifest
flying dreams, like we get to like fly, but like no, I'll take a train. I'll I'll be there. I'll do my best, and if not, we have to kind of cut each other a little bit of slack and find a way to have maybe a way to stream it through like online if I can't make it. But like, yeah, there's some tremendous events coming up.
So let's mention what they are. I think, Sheila, do you remember what all of them are? As far as the in-person events go, I know that Laura is going to be with us on June 18th. You can go to disclosurefest.org.
I don't want to miss that.
And that's at Los Angeles State Historic Park. It's a one-day event with, oh gosh, thousands of people show up for this because we have such top-notch speakers, yoga. We have yoga practice.
Has been epic.
It's very, very epic. We have a Star Ancestor stage with the one drum will be there as well, and the Aztec dancers. And we've got Trevor Hall as our headliner music, and Sacred Sons, and I think it's Gone Beyond. I was just posting about them. They have great music. Anyway, lots of great music and food and art and fun. And so that's June 18th in Los Angeles. And then in July, I'm not sure the date in July, but it's at Rob Potter's event in Mount Shasta. Mm-hmm. And do you know of any other ones, Sheila, that you want to share?
Well, we also have our hybrid conference that will be coming up, and that I'm pulling up the dates I think it's July 23rd and 24th. Yes, July 23rd and 24th. So we'll, if you go to portaltoascension.org, you can scroll through, find the hybrid conference. You can go ahead and register for that now. We also, I wanted to go back because I know Neil has a phenomenal event coming up this weekend, the Ancient Egypt and the Extraterrestrial Connection, and that's on the 5th, so you can go ahead and register for that. And then on the 6th, there's the Mysticism, Indigenous Healing, and Modern Encounters with Other Dimensions coming up. And then, of course, Alan has presenters on every Wednesday on New Realities. And so there's so many wonderful programs that are going on right now. And I just love to see it because each one addresses a different niche, if you will, and each one brings up different opportunities for people to connect. And that's what's the beautiful thing. When we're able to connect and we just kind of drop in to that space, it's like we can let everything go. And that's when healing, just like when we sleep at night, healing occurs in our bodies. When we drop in to these programs, healing begins to occur. And Joan, let me bring you back up here, sister, because you have events and presentations that go on every week. I know you've got your Miracle Mondays.
I do. So that's so funny. I'm posting, I do a lot of stuff with Neil now. So I'm actually posting Laura's event with Neil, which is in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Just to help promote that, which should be fantastic. Yeah, guys, I do Miracle Monday every Monday. I had to move it to 5 p.m. Pacific time so I could actually hop on at 6. And I do some other shows that I'm just sort of launching now, and I have some of my classes and my other work. I don't know. I'm really focused on helping people feel their own personal power and sovereignty through these times.
Beautiful.
Okay, I may not, that's the best way I can handle it. It's like, who you are. Here's your clipboard. You came in millions of years ago with it. Just get to work.
Yeah. And Joan, you'll be my co-host next month. Woohoo! Won't we have fun?
Yes, I will.
That'll be great.
We have a great guest on next Monday. Fearless and Free, Victoria Reynolds. You'd probably like her, Laura, too. So
Yeah.
she actually escaped from a cult when she was 18. She's one of 17 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
With 3 or 4 mothers, I guess. And she has quite a history of really breaking free. That is who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then this Thursday on Cosmic Conversations, we also have Rebecca Hardcastle Wright that will be with us. And we begin at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So, if you're not signed up on our mailing list, please do so. You can go to wishalliance.org. It's right there on the homepage, or you can hit contact and just sign up so that you don't miss any of these phenomenal programs. And Joan, we need to get your programming listed.
Right. What
so
do I
people
need to do?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after, girlfriend.
I also, just for the people that are still on that were wondering about in-person events,
Yes.
Laura's not going to be at Cosmic Awakening in Sedona, but I like to give Thunderbeat a shout out because she does a Cosmic Awakening conference April 22nd through the 25th in Sedona, Arizona. So I feel like what we're all doing is just using the vibration and the frequency that we feel we're aligned with, asking higher guidance for where we're supposed to be and who we're supposed to be with, because we have an opportunity to gather in person with lots of people. And when we just lean into it, when all the doors open, where everything just lines up, that we can get to these in-person gatherings, I think we're going to do the world a lot of good to be able to model the energy we wish to see on this planet, loving our Mother Earth, loving our sisters and our brothers, loving all of our family. And I just feel so fueled and re-energized and so grateful to be here among all of you and know that we're doing this together. And when I start feeling depressed or down, all I need to do is just physically really, put my focus on coming back and joining into this space and feeling the energy that I feel every time we're here gathered together, looking at each other. It's one thing I do a radio show where it's, you know, there's no camera, it's just our voices. I like doing that. It's my passion, and I feel so much more comfortable without being on camera, but it really does. This adds a whole different dimension to everything, seeing each one of you and looking in your eyes and feeling your, you know, feel like Joan's so animated, and Laura, your passion coming through, and Sheila, just everything that you're bringing to it. That's really going to carry me forward personally. And I hope it carries all of us, that we can just keep restreaming in.
Yeah.
So thank you to each one of you for being here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate it. And Laura, thank you so much. We have one. Do you have time for one more question?
Me, a question?
Uh-huh.
Oh, and I realized I have a March 19th event with Portal to Ascension that I forgot to probably mention.
We talked about it. That's
Oh,
what
good.
Joan
Yeah.
was
Oh,
for.
gosh. Right. Yes. I can definitely take another question. I just
Okay.
was thinking for a second, like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Bring it
Great.
on.
Okay. So, all right. So we have 2 hands up. So I think Lynn, let's go ahead. And
Can you hear me?
yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Laura, I want to give each and every one of your toes a big hug and kiss from here to eternity. Absolutely. And then, Laura, if you're in this space, I want to ask you a provocative question. I know that your great-grandfather had information which was not made available to the public. And I am wondering if you feel comfortable to share what some of that information might be. And the reason I'm asking is due to all the shenanigans that are going on now. And I can't help but think that there is a thread from what your great-grandfather knew to the current times. And
Oh,
thank you.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've been researching this probably since I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if the word research is like the correct thing.
Mhm.
I have an agreement, or the English language feels limited, but I have a soul family connection with the spirit of Eisenhower and the Eisenhower family to come in and incarnate into this realm to expose all the things that have been kept in secrecy. And
Right.
it's been such an incredible journey, and I've like exposed everything I possibly could, right? Like the
Yeah.
first page was like, oh, you know, anything I possibly could. I remember being like 8 years old, and I'm writing a book and it'll explain it all, but seeing like, you know, like Eisenhower, aliens, like Balfour, like Greys, like Nordics, like and it put me on a really massive journey that no other Eisenhower family member was willing to go on, but I was like,
Right.
okay, this is why I'm
Right.
here. And
Yes.
I learned more than I mean, it's not like I, you know, had any expectation, but like I was taken into this journey, and I'm still on this journey of like really understanding something really profound. And what I've come to discover is very interesting. And that's I feel is a very pertinent and important piece of whatever we title full disclosure. This goes into so many levels. So I don't even know where to begin. So what I've come to learn, even though I was like willing to say like, hey, you know, you signed a treaty with the Greys, yeah, you Google it. Eisenhower sold us out to the Greys, right? But wait a second. He was a general of the Second World War. He tried to defeat the Nazis. He was raised on a farm, like, you know, with a bunch of siblings, like, You know, there's no Illuminati, like kind of like family wealth going on here. And I certainly don't have any trust funds. I'm like, you know, like literally like scraping quarters still to this day. I mean, I've had my peaks of abundance, you know, just when I used to do a lot of readings, but like, you know, it's like, this is very different presidential bloodline, right? Because most people would assume if you're in the presidential bloodline, you must be reptilian, Illuminati, right? And so it's so interesting to like interact with this bloodline and family line. Eisenhower and I have a really cool connection. So what I discovered was, you know, he was going through the ranks, West Point, to be a 5-star general during the Second World War, to stop the atrocities of the Nazis. And there was a other influence there, right? So all of us researchers know about the Anunnaki. We know about, like, you know, we're trying to like connect the dots. What I've come to learn, and what I'm trying to like put into a concise sort of like book, is that the ET kind of component to it, that's been around since the beginning. We've always been interacting with ETs. We have ET genetics within our own DNA. But after the final catastrophe or cataclysm of Atlantis, and we started to just be humans with amnesia, and we had frequency fences put in our DNA so we couldn't access these places, this whole Illuminati kind of 13 family thing kind of came about. So what I've come to understand is, and there's still some pieces I don't fully have yet, but they were kind of like seeing Eisenhower like, okay, you know, he's not like kind of one of them. But, you know, when it comes to the Anunnaki, when they, like, you know, those who came from the, you know, you got different factions, you got different stuff going on there. But anyway, to make a long story short, which I'm making a long story long, and you can't even believe, like, I'm telling you guys all this. All right. So farm boy, he's to beat his head against a tree. Like, he had this destiny, right? Like I could relate to him, right? Like as a child, like he would visit me and I'm like, you know, I'm like kind of losing my shit, like too much to process, like what's going on here? And so I recognize this like greater, bigger picture, like alliance or friendship with him. And anyway, I'm trying to like be concise here. So he went from being a general of the Second World War. This is when we were dealing with unconditional surrender agreements in 1952 under Truman, that brought in Project Paperclip, brought in all this stuff where the Second World War wasn't really won, right? And so the general, the person that was like, we got to stop this virus, this control force from overtaking humanity. Oh, well, let's prop him up to be a president. And I remember my grandfather, his son, John S.C. Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower's son. I was very close to him. He would confide in me. He knew that like I was here to understand. He's like, he didn't want to be president. He was like being like pulled into this, and he was like, he knew something wasn't right, right? So then you go into MJ12, you go into all the ET stuff and like ET government treaties. Well, the treaties originated way before Eisenhower. And so an unconditional agreement surrender took place in 1952, and then the Granada Treaty took place around the same time, but it was done behind his back. But at the same time, he had to sort of surrender to it, like behind the scenes, like what we see in our history books as bull, and a lot of the disclosure stuff and a lot of the secret, all that, like there's a lot of disinformation. What I've come to understand is in light of the fact that this infiltration had taken place, and he started to realize we didn't win this war. There's a larger picture here with like off-planet entities, like galactic history, Orion Wars, you know, like going back to a greater galactic history they don't give to us in our school systems. He set up Ike's Force, USMC Special Section. He set up the White Hats. He set up Earth Alliance and Val 4 from Venus was his sort of messenger that helped him to communicate with the sphere being alliance to set up something behind the scenes, which has been sort of like, I don't want to say perverted into, but remember like in Trump's administration, the plan and like the QAnons and like all this stuff about the Palladians. Okay, some of that's true, but some of it's bunk. What I'm unfolding and uncovering has a lot to do with the secret space programs, the Earth Alliance, the Sphere Being Alliance. And we're not talking Cory Good's version of it. He was okay for a while, but then something happened. We're talking about something huger. No, they're not our rescuers. They're not coming to save the day, but it is a representation of the spirit and spark that we all hold within our own soul and why we're all gathered here together. It's this greater alliance that has to do with our divine blueprint, our divine inheritance, and who we are meant to rediscover within ourselves. So when you look at different controller agendas and artificial timelines kind of stuff, it's just like, oh, how can we manipulate and harvest? Well, the Eisenhower sort of like even Jesus Magdalene kind of like stuff. No, this is very different vibration. So I'm going to like lay it all out. I can't do it all tonight, but I'm working with a person who is the senior advisor to the Earth Alliance. And I've been in contact with a lot of people that have survived the secret space programs and that have overcome the MK Ultra programs. And I'm consolidating it this year into a book to explain something that I don't encourage people to say, oh, that must be the truth. No, but just consider that this might be what actually happened. Because from all that I've gone through and all the people that have contacted me, you know, that I wasn't really looking for, I'm not talking about like alien contact, but like, you know, and it's not about like, oh, well, you know, Eisenhower's exonerated in my heart, but it's not about him. It's about all of us, that something is rising out of all this muck and like craziness of these different lines that have tried to create these artificial timelines to just feed a particular agenda. You know, Cory and Alex Collier talk about, you know, 22 different competing alien agendas, whatever. The whole point is that there is one sort of agenda that is beyond an agenda that seeks to remind every individual and the whole of humanity of who we truly are. Doesn't want to rob, steal, siphon, use dark technologies to just like manipulate. It is literally staying true to like true God source and our genetic codes that enable us to experience hierogamic union, the true fairy tale stories that we always dreamed of, everything we could ever want, our capacity to manifest, you know, our dreams. Eisenhower's lineage with the ETs that are benevolent, and I know all the information about all the tricksters too, and our own soul codes that know, you know, we're coming back to ourselves. And so I incarnated into this family line, not just to protect his legacy or to give the real story behind it, as much as it's been more about you and all of us just celebrating the fact that like within our own genetic code and divine template, there's no reptilian agenda, there's no artificial timeline, there's no pandemic that has any power over us, and nobody's gonna like save us, but we got a huge team of beings and military forces that are just like, we're gonna kick ass together. So my I guess revelation is we're an army of light, we're a team of light, and it's not about the battleground, it's about the integration of polarity I wish you guys just like probably silenced me like a long time ago, but does any of this make sense?
You know, Laura, I think look at what they're writing in here. They could listen to, who wrote that? I don't have my glasses on. It says I
Yeah.
could
I
listen to
couldn't
Laura
explain it
talk
very
about
well.
this
It's
all
just like
day.
I'm not
Yeah.
really doing as good as I could be. Like
We totally get what you're saying, Laura, and there's so much coming through with what you're saying. I want to encourage everyone on here to look up a woman named Renette Senem, Reinettee, Senem, and her great-grandfather, biological great-grandfather, was with Laura's great-grandfather. She talks about him as being the I don't know how she says it. He's not very well known. His name is Frederick Funston, but she went on a self-discovery path and learned a lot about her biological great-grandfather through her trek through Alaska, the first woman to cross Alaska by herself, 1,500 miles. And she's got quite a story about it. She happens to be running for governor of California, but that's not why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing it up because it's tying in what's happening right now. And what's happening is a lot of the stuff that's happened either in past lives or in our lineage, the veils feel so thin that we're getting this information so that we can move forward, like Laura said, reclaiming who we are and what we came here to do this time around. And I think you really hit that point home, Laura, by sharing what you were sharing. And the way that you've had to navigate discernment, I can tell you as Laura's friend, what I've witnessed and how she's had to navigate using her discernment muscle with all the people that come at her, and how she has to really tune in to see where their intention is in using her energetic stream, her life force. So with that, I would like to invite all of us on this call to surround Laura in love and light, and really keep her in that container as she writes this book that is very cathartic for her, but very telling for each one of us. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm like stunned. I'm like, thank you so much. And Michelle, yeah, metaphorical, like we united over the years when I was going through so much in such a profound way. You're a huge reason that like I'm still here. Like, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, you know, I don't need to be saved. None of us need to be saved. But you know, those moments where you're just like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. It's too much. Michelle had my back. She held space for me. She held my heart. And she's been one of the most profound sisters and like soul family, goddess fucking, and so many of you as well. Like, you know, Joan, who every time we like interact like over the years too. And like, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about how much you guys like really like help hold me together. And I hope, you know, I was able to do the same for you anytime you were ever like needing a friend.
Always. You always have. Always. And that's what sisterhood is all about. And I don't want to exclude brothers. Definitely don't want to do that.
Totally.
But holding,
yeah, exactly. Right.
The soul family that we have come to find through the Wish Alliance, through Portal to Ascension, through Disclosure Fest, through, you know, Cosmic Awakening, Miracle Makers, all of these beautiful organizations that are forming, that are holding us as soul families, so that when we need to pass the baton to someone, we can. When we need to take time to grieve, we can. We know that somebody is there holding us and has our back at all times. And if we can just constantly remember that, to keep tuning back in, this is the space of love. This is the container of divine love that we wanted to create. We did it. We did it. All of us. It took each one of us, and we did it. So thank you.
Laura, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And from my heart, from the cosmic heart, from the universal heart, from wherever hearts exist, to your heart on multi-levels, bless you. Thank you for all your hard, diligent work through the years. It's paying off. Thank
Yeah.
you, Laura.
You guys are like, I'm like, is this really happening? My husband's like, are you here? Thank you, you guys. You have no idea. It's just, it's so mutual. It's so mutual. And we're like so together in this, and we're such an unstoppable force. And oh man, this is just beautiful. I so appreciate you guys like thinking of me and bringing me in, and like,
And let's also give your website, Laura. Laura, how can people support you when you talk about your work? How can people support you? Give your website.
Well, my website's cosmicgaia.org, and I had to learn how to like do the website myself. It's probably like it's not the most advanced kind of website, because it's kind of like website for dummies, because I'm not a very tech person, but it's cosmicgaia.org. And I pretty much keep it updated. You'll see some of the in-person events that I'm going to be a part of, and the online events. I'm the online webinar with Portal to Ascension, March 19th. All that's there. And the products that I've worked with and I believe in, you can explore. All my ratings and the stuff that I lost when all my channels and censorship took place, I wasn't able to recover. So anyways, dust in the wind. That's why I'm an Etch-a-Sketch artist, because it's like, you can create something, but if something destroys it, don't be bummed. It's like, we're like free. We're in the zero. There's some things, we can try and like maintain and collect, and but then, we'd probably be on an episode of Hoarders, right? It's like, oh my God, look at all the stuff that I created. Sorry. All right. Long story short, cosmicgaia.org. I keep it as updated as I can. I created a new Facebook account after my initial one got shut down. And I just think the website, I'm just going to like give it all there. So you know where to find me, and my Telegram channel and all that, and what I'm doing. And man, this is just like lifted my heart and my soul to levels that you can't even imagine. I'm in so much gratitude, each and every one of you. I love you beyond anything. And I'm like humbled and almost like it's I will spend the next couple of days integrating the fact that you guys have my back and you support me. And if I just can't even believe it. I need to shut up. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you.
Love you.
We have one final question, and then we're going to bring our little love fest to a close, because it is kind of a love fest. We're all sending that love out and supporting each other. So Ross, hello.
Yeah. Hello, Sheila. Thank you very much. So Laura here. I'd like to thank you personally for most introduced me to Elena Danaan. You had Elena Danaan, I don't know, it was the first time, maybe second time. It was, I said, who is this lady? Oh, wow, this stuff really resonates. So thank you very much for introducing me to her and her information. I have learned so much from Elena. I mean, it's amazing. And I never forget that first time that you talked to Elena about your Dwight D. Eisenhower history and how it happened. And it was so beautiful, so emotional. It was just amazing learning experience for you. And I think so for me too, to really see, the Sekar Empire, the Orion, the Naboo, and everything that was happening behind the scenes that we don't really know about it. And Elena was such an awesome resource for a lot of things, verifying and corroborating a lot of things. So yeah, thank you very much for being that person who really brings those kind of awesome speakers, because without you, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't even say, who is Elena? What, who, what, right? From where? And she comes with this awesome, experience, and that cannot be, So Thank you. That's all.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's really wild. It's like, it's sort of like when we see some of the stories in the news of a innocent prisoner who has been in captivity or locked behind bars, but they finally realize, no, he did not commit that crime. So when I met Elena and Alex and Dan Cooper from Earth Alliance, and they said, Eisenhower, wasn't responsible for this. It's like what the feeling that you get when you see in the news when an innocent prisoner is set free, when they basically finally have enough ability to get down to the nitty-gritty proof to say, wow, you're in prison for 15 years and you weren't responsible for that crime. Because it's been very heavy. And I'm more the empath in the family because nobody else is talking about this or feeling it, but feeling the heaviness of the blame that has been placed on Eisenhower for signing us over or like, selling us out to the gray ETs. And the minute I was a kid, it was just like, there's something wrong with this story and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And thank you all for like supporting that journey. And the fact that that's just one aspect of like this greater journey that we're all on, to the point where truth is going to prevail and love frequency is going to override all this divide and conquer stuff, and all the toxins and the weapons will be neutralized and nullified and transformed in the face of that strong vibration that we all are carrying together as a group, that will ripple out. And so many that feel the same way that are listening are like right there with us too. So it's been really awesome tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks, Ross.
Thank you, Ross, for sharing that, because I know that was a big one with the Elena Denon, the Earth Alliance ambassador. That was a really great interview. For those of you who haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch that one. Or listen to that one.
Elena Denon, Alex Collier, the very collaborative, and Michael Sala now. He is getting into the picture. He's been getting messages directly, to my understanding, which is fascinating. I mean, there is definitely a lot that's happening behind the scenes, what we really know. But listening to those individuals, very important. You're going to learn a lot. That's all. Definitely.
And always remember, well, we all know this. We take what resonates and leave the rest. And it's incredible. I traveled to a lot of locations with Michael Sala, and the minute I met Elena Denon, it was like a family reunion. It was just like huge. But a lot. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say. There are very benevolent individuals that have a little bit of a warning about some of the contact stuff, but it doesn't like land on the person that, like Elena or anybody else, is just. And this is what's beautiful about what people like Elena have to say, is that nobody's going to save us. So that nullifies like any concern that there's some, because they have technology that can present themselves as being benevolent, but they're not. This is what happened with the Nordics. And there's a great history connected to so-called benevolent looking ETs that actually aren't. And so there's a whole other like level of all that I'm going to bring forward. But when you see like a person and their integrity, and the fact that the communications or the messages they're bringing forth are really encouraging self-development and human sovereignty, to me, that nullifies any concern that whoever they're in contact with might be an imposter or a nefarious so-called benevolent person. As we know, there's false channelers and there's true channelers. And I really do feel more confidence, even though I've been slapped with a lot of warnings about some of the people I feel really good about, that because of their character, because of their integrity, because of the kind of path that they walked, that you know, they're somebody to absolutely like give the time of day and listen to. But the only trust that we should give to anybody is the trust we need to give to ourselves first, because that way we have a bullshit meter that can navigate these times and have the kind of discernment that can you know, like remove the disinformation without the blame shame game, you know, because there are a lot of people that are compromised that are still trying to heal, that might be disinformation agents that we shouldn't cast away, but we should understand. Because I work with a lot of clients that have like 200 altars, that have been through these projects and programs, that have so many altars that have been literally like engineered to play a certain role in these times that we're in. And we just have to like, you know, understand what we're dealing with. And I feel like this is the crowd that can like, we can have this kind of like greater conversation, and I'll leave it at that. Do you guys kind of know what I mean though?
Totally. That's why I always, you called it a BS meter. I always called it the discernment compass, the discernment muscle. This is when we talk about everything being vibration and frequency, one of the things that I think is a really important point that you brought up is trusting ourselves and feeling into whoever we're dealing with, frequency, vibration, and how it's landing within, you know, our own truth meter. So,
and then we would want everybody else to do the same for us. It's like, I don't have all the answers. Have discernment towards me as well, you know?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Michelle, again, thank you. Big virtual hug for all the energy that you have brought and sending us off on a beautiful journey now with all this love in our hearts, all this knowledge in our minds. And we'll be joining Joan of Angels as she joins our group for the Conscious Awakening series next Monday night. So thank you everyone for being here. Again, thank you, Laura. We'd love to have you become part of the Wish Alliance. It would be phenomenal. So keep that in mind.
I'm always here with y'all. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, lots of love. And thank you guys tonight for hanging in there with us. Have no clue what happened earlier, but we were back. We had the opportunity to finish up, and what a beautiful night it was. So until we're together next week, much love to everyone, and namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
We love
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Love you. Bye.
Hey, Ross.
Bye.
Hey, Ross. Love you guys so much.
You